All right, what is going on, guys? So in today's episode, I'm very lucky to be joined with Brother Igor. Brother Igor is a Capuchin Friar, and yeah, we've been kind of in contact for the last, I would say, like month or so, and it's been really good. So I'm excited to kind of chat with him about his journey and yeah, kind of what he has to say. So thank you for joining us, Father.
Thank you. Pleasure.
Yeah.
It's great to be here.
Thank you. Yeah. So why don't we just get started with yeah, maybe you can kind of give us like your origin story, kind of what brought you on this path of life, and I can kind of go from there.
Okay. I'm a Capuchin now. I used to be a diocesan priest, but my vocation story starts when I was 11. Um, we moved with our family from South Africa to Belgium, and during that we lost everything.
Okay.
And
Like
that
materially?
was materially, yes. So we had a shipping container, and it was filled with our things, and that container just disappeared. Uh,
Wow.
fell off, fell off the ship. That's what they've been told us then.
Yeah.
And so, as an 11-year-old, or as my brother and sisters and my mother and father, we all processed this in a different way. And I went to church. The rest of my family didn't really go to church, but I went to church. I went to like a Bible study, and arriving in Belgium, I thought I'll visit this church here. Beautiful church, amazing cathedral. And I sat down and I prayed, and I realized I didn't one thing I didn't lose, and that was God. And so that's the start of my vocation journey through life. That step by step, I was pulled into the church and welcomed into the church, and this is part of who I am, and who I'm probably meant to be. And at 16, I didn't know what I was going to do.
Sure.
And I asked the priest, and he said, "Well, as a joke, why don't you become a priest?" And that stuck. And
Hmm.
so I was doing my last years in high school, and after high school, I wrote my letter to the seminary, and they accepted me, and I started. Um, Maybe too early for me at that time because I did 2 years in seminary. I left. I did art school. I went to the Navy for a
Okay.
year, the Belgian
Jumping
Navy.
around.
Just hopping around. 3 years I worked in Brussels in an office building, and I knew it wasn't that what I was supposed to be doing until I let my guard down and listened to God again.
Hmm.
And this is a long story made very short, but let my guard down and okay, if you really want this, then I'm here for you. Um, and I started seminary again.
Okay. Wow. So, that's an amazing story. I can't imagine how your parents felt with losing the shipping container. Because like you guys were kids, I'm sure it's tough on you, but you know, a family like a mother and father, that's got to be just devastating.
It
So,
is. It is. My father was a painter. My mother was a homemaker. Um, but I remember my mother looking for like a spoon, like a special soup ladle. I said, "Where is this? Where is this?" And then realizing, oh, it's gone. And
wow.
then,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's so sad. Well, I mean, the silver lining is it brought you closer to God, which is great. What made you leave seminary that first time? Do you think you just weren't ready?
Um, I I was I was young. That's one thing. Um, I stopped praying.
Hmm.
I was looking around. We were in the city of Bruges, and the students would go out on Thursdays, and we weren't allowed to go out. I was comparing things.
Yep.
So they get to do this, and I don't get to do that. Um, and so I think that the three things that connect with each other is your prayer, it's how you listen to authority, or your obedience in whatever kind of way that is, and then your chastity as well. And if you stop praying, then you're not going to be listening anymore, and then you're not going to be chaste anymore. Or
That's
if you're,
interesting. I've always wondered why those three are the evangelical councils. Like, why not other things?
yeah.
That's interesting. So you think those three just happen to be intertwined where like, and it all stems from prayer.
I prayer, or I think everybody has their weakness, um, and I think I know I have to watch myself if I don't pray,
Sure.
because then I'm not going to do what I'm supposed to be doing, and I'm going to have a problem keeping a chaste heart.
Yeah.
Uh, and I'm sure for other people it works in different ways. If they're not listening to their superior, then they won't be praying as much, and they won't. And so it goes all. It works. It intertwines with each other.
Yeah. I want to get back to you, but I do have a kind of a side question on that, about prayer. A lot of people ask me like, what's a good daily prayer thing to do, like like a daily spiritual practice. And I usually tell them, like try to say something in the morning, try to pray the rosary, do an examination of conscience.
Yeah,
And if you can do that, that's like a really good start. Do you think young men, because most of my clients are like 20 to 30, do you think young men should also be doing like a lot of mental prayer or maybe like Lectio Divina? Like, what do you recommend we should be doing? Or is it different each person?
I think every person is kind of different. They have to find out what they are comfortable with, and what gives them a better relationship with Jesus Christ.
Sure.
And so somebody might be very open to pray a rosary, and in that have like deeper contemplation, meditation, and relationship with Jesus Christ on that point. But some people might not. And you have to you have to test out what works, and if it works, stick to it.
Okay. So it's not really correct to say that like everyone should be praying the rosary every day or everyone should be doing an examination of conscience every day.
I would encourage it,
Yeah.
yeah. But if you find that it's bringing more barriers into your prayer life,
Hmm.
then you have to find out why that is. Because like I pray a rosary every day. I do our mental prayer every day. I do the office of the liturgy of the hours. I like to do an examen at the end of the day, because that helps me keep myself in check.
Sure.
Uh, Morning prayer is essential for me. I try to, if I'm at home, I go to the Eucharist because I find it very important. If
Hmm.
I'm not at home, yeah, I'm not in the monastery now, and there's not a priest saying mass
Yeah. Right.
anywhere
Yeah.
nearby, and I don't like celebrating mass on my own, so I don't do that.
I see. Okay. Okay. So, different each person, but encourage the kind of typical things like praying a rosary, maybe an examen, maybe the
Yeah,
mental prayer.
yeah.
Okay.
For my biggest thing is waste time with Jesus.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the
A lot of guys will say things like, I can't focus, so I don't pray. And I'm always, priests have told me just like still pray, offer it up to God,
yeah,
just spend the time with him.
and tell him what's going on in your day.
Yeah.
This has been difficult today. And I often tell people that, "Well, have you told Christ about this?
Yeah.
Have you brought this into prayer? Oh no, no. Oh, that's a good insight. Oh, duh.
Yeah. Right. He wants to hear it. Yeah.
He wants to hear it. He knows everything, but he wants to hear it from you. What's your perspective on this?
Yeah. I love that. Okay, so continuing on with kind of your story. So we went back to seminary after sounds like 4 or 5 years maybe of a
Yeah,
hiatus.
yeah,
Okay, because and then we did 3 years at the office, then we went back. And then was this was diocesan seminary. So
yes,
you became a diocesan priest.
yeah.
And then yeah, tell me about that and like what made you switch to religious?
So my final conversation with my rector of the seminary as they're preparing to give us an assignment was, what would you like to do? So I had like a list.
Hmm.
Like, I'd like to go study.
Yeah.
If I can't study, I'd like to be a chaplain in the army.
Oh,
Uh,
cool.
if I can't do that, then I'd want to be a chaplain somewhere in a hospital, or maybe teach in a school. And my last choice was like, okay, and if you can't do anything else, then send me to a parish. And so I was sent to a parish.
No, that's good. The Lord wills it.
Yep. And
Can I ask real quick, what does it mean to be a chaplain, either in the military or like a hospital? What is your role there?
so you're there to take care of anyone that comes to you.
Okay.
They might be Catholic or not. Listen to their plight, their prayer, their petition. Those who, if you're a Catholic chaplain, Catholic priest, you'll say mass at a hospital or on the field and where people are posted in the military. Um,
I see. So like just a priest for that institution, essentially.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Got it.
You're,
Okay.
you're, you're their parish priest for wherever they are.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. Okay. So you were sent to a parish.
So I was sent to a parish, a very beautiful parish, my hometown parish, to be exact, or my
Okay.
home city. So
And
I
this is in Belgium, not South
this
Africa.
this is in Belgium, yeah.
Okay.
And I was given like an easy place to start off. And so after 6 months, I get, well, maybe you can take this responsibility for this parish as well, because this guy isn't feeling very well. Apparently, that guy not feeling very well was actually because he had abused someone and had to be taken out of ministry.
I see. Okay.
So this is a recurring refrain in my uh, first 7 years of being a parish priest, or of being a priest. So I got a new assignment as because somebody had done something that what they weren't supposed to be doing, either financially or morally.
Right.
And so I had to deal with broken parishes, broken people, hurt people. And finally, at the end, I was a pastor for at least 3 years of 10 parishes here in the area. So,
So kind of what happened is people kept like messing up and you had to adopt their responsibilities, and then
yeah.
you had 10 parishes under you.
So that was essentially what happened. Um, um, and that was not the best ways of getting new appointments. Um,
Sure.
and yeah, I had to deal with quite a bit of hurt people as well.
Sure.
That's sadly enough, part of church life. But I joined the Capuchins at a point after that. Um, one of the parishes had a youth group.
Okay.
They were a Franciscan youth group, and they wanted to know more. And they challenged me as a priest, like, it's good that you come to our meetings and so on, and you say a prayer and you give a reflection, but we want more Franciscan input. And okay, well, I'm your priest, so you should listen to me. That
Yeah.
was my thinking.
Sure.
And I said, no. If you want to be part of our group, you have to give us Franciscan input. So they knew what they wanted.
Yeah.
They were right. And so that forced me to study more about Franciscan spirituality, and
Sure.
that brought me to the Capuchins, and
Here we are.
here we are.
Okay. So, my understanding is that the way I think of it, this might be too simplistic, but the way I think of it is like diocesan priests run parishes, religious priests are in monasteries or friaries. So if you had 10 parishes and you were running like diocesan stuff, was it tough to transition to the role of what is expected for a religious? Or did you
It
keep the
was
10, did you keep the 10 parishes?
no,
Okay.
no. So I had to request from my bishop to go on a sabbatical to start the process to become a religious.
Okay.
And the first few months was like a brain shift of like, okay, I don't have anything to do excepting read and study, and I'm not leading meetings, I'm not taking care of finances, I'm not organizing so many events, I'm not, yeah. So that it takes a mind shift to do that. And during my novitiate year, I said, okay, well, you're going to learn how to be a brother, a Capuchin brother. So this year you won't do any sacraments. And so that was like, oh, okay. You're kind of pulling out the essence of who I am.
Sure.
And the question I got all the time was, do you want to be a priest in a brown robe, or do you want to be Capuchin brother?
Right.
Do you just play the part, or do you really want to understand who we are?
Wow. So when you become a novitiate for the Capuchins, even if you're a priest, you're not doing the priestly duties.
No, no, you're the same as everybody else.
And would you say the seniority, the rank of the seniority in the Capuchins is based on like when you were ordained or when you became a Capuchin?
When you become a Capuchin.
Okay, so you were square one. You
Yeah.
started at the bottom. Okay.
So I think Nathan is my senior brother Nathan.
Hmm.
He is professed longer than I am, but I'm a priest longer than he is.
Yeah. So technically in the Capuchin order, he has seniority.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, cool. So you started, you wanted to not be a priest in a brown robe, you wanted to be a Capuchin brother.
Yeah. And that brought me to California to do my novitiate there.
Okay.
I went back to Belgium. It was during COVID for my post novitiate year, and they didn't have much ministry for me then. So I asked around, where can I continue my formation? And they said, well, go to Detroit.
Okay.
So I went to Detroit, and it's been amazing. So
Gotcha. That's cool. Okay, so and then you're in Detroit right now. That's where you're like home. That's where you're
that's my
stationed.
home.
You're
Yeah.
signed. Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. Well, very cool. It's a very interesting story. You've traveled all around. I gotta ask, do you miss South Africa? Do you ever get a chance to go back?
I went back a few years ago, but I left because I was so young.
Yeah.
Uh,
So your home is really Belgium.
my home is really Belgium. I'm here in Belgium now, to visiting my family and friends, and yeah, just catching up.
Well, cool. Well, thank you for sharing. It's very interesting. I like the testimony. I like I don't know about you, and I don't know if this is like theologically correct, but I feel like if you're a serious Catholic, the default is to consider like giving your life to Christ and being like, yeah, I'll be a priest. Like I'll give up everything. I'll sacrifice for God. And then some people are called to marriage. I don't know if that's theologically correct, but the way I see it is like if you're really a Catholic and you love Jesus, you
Yeah.
got to be, and you're a man, you're like, all right, I'll sacrifice, I'll go be a priest. And then some people are like called to. So I feel like a lot more people should take discernment seriously, I guess is what I'm saying.
Well, I think everyone should take discernment seriously, but also to discern seriously if they want to be a husband or not, or be a wife or not,
Sure.
be not only religious life, um, because we need good Catholic families as well.
Yeah.
Uh, and I think the sacrifice there is sometimes bigger than that priests have or
Oh,
that
really?
religion. I think so. It takes guts and grit um, to live together and build a family and take care of a family, and
Yeah.
uh, it's not the easy way out.
No. And like work through problems and like you don't
Yeah,
get to leave, you got to work through it.
yeah,
I don't know, I'm not a vocation director, but I tell a lot of my clients who feel like they are called to priest, or they're at least like thinking about it. It's on their mind now. They're like, oh, this is interesting. They're talking to the vocation director. I'm very forward with them, and I'm like, you don't know anything until you go. So just like
yeah,
do a quick year. Just in your mind, just be like, I'm gonna do a quick year, see if I like it, because
yeah,
you don't know anything until you like go.
yeah.
So that's what I tell the guys. I don't know if that's right, but it's true. Like, or when people ask me about my program and they're like, well, what's it like? I'm like, you won't know unless you're here.
You have to try it. You have to do it. You have to work through it, and then you know.
Yeah. So, well, cool. Well, yeah, I also wanted to ask you, Father, about my ministry is basically focused on like making Catholic men better, self-developed, kind of an emphasis on fitness right now, but kind of the dream is like all encompassing, help them with
Mhm.
their career and everything. So I wanted to ask you, like, what do you think because you were clearly drawn to the page and you followed me, like, what do you think is the biggest issue young Catholic men are facing today? Like, what's the one thing they should be focusing on?
They should. The many things
Yeah,
going on.
a tough question. Maybe that's too tough.
There are many things going on, but I think as a young Catholic man, to know who you are and where you stand in life. Who do you want to be? Um, and that's the question they should be asking um, in their prayer. Lord Jesus, who do you want me to be?
Right. And are you saying like so many people are fake? Everyone pretends to be someone they're not?
I think people put up a lot of masks,
Yeah, I think so too.
and like I'm part of this group, so I have to act this way. Um, and I don't think that helps them, and it doesn't help their identity, and doesn't help them develop their vocation either, um, because it's safe. Like, I'm part of this group, and I'm going to act this way, and then I it, I don't have to reveal any of my cards.
Yes. Yes. And the way I see it is like if you're not truly confident with who you are, you're gonna want to put on a mask in public
Yeah,
and you're gonna want to just pretend to be someone you're like I feel that in the corporate world. You worked in the corporate world.
yeah,
There's that fake like veneer people put up. Um, a big one actually is in the Catholic world, sometimes men will make Catholicism their identity,
yeah,
not their relationship with Christ, but like the idea of Catholicism. Whereas
yeah.
you don't really see that with the priests. They're very like authentic. So that's really interesting. I talk a lot about that.
I always worry when somebody starts talking to me about, oh, did you read this in this book? Like, I don't know you yet, so why are you talking about reading certain books or certain theologies, or like, tell me who you are so that I
Yes.
can get to know you, and then we can talk about something you've read.
Yeah. If you have a shared interest. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Why do you think that is? Why do you think priests are so authentic and like real? Like for me personally, I have a really easy time talking to priests, but I guess I would say like the step before priests, like really Catholic men who haven't gone to seminary yet, I sometimes struggle to talk to them because they do seem to be a little bit inauthentic. Why do you
Yeah.
think that is?
Um, they're scared, um, and life hasn't become easier as we progress, and our society isn't easy. And so I think generally most people are scared of how people see them and perceive them. And so it's safer to use that mask. Um, and when people are scared, people do stupid things. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a safety mechanism if you put on the
yeah.
mask.
Mm.
Definitely. I like that. It's hard to be authentic because you can be wrong sometimes and people can judge you. Like,
Yeah.
especially as a Catholic content creator, like part of that job is to say your opinion. But I'm not a theologian, so I probably get stuff wrong. But if you're always open to like learning and praying and discerning and you listen to people, you can like I would much rather be authentic than I could go on camera and be like, pray to Mary and like never get it wrong or something. But like if I have true thoughts, I kind of want to share them with the world, even if I end up being wrong. I don't know. I just want to take that chance.
I think that's what your pull is on you are very authentic when you're on Instagram, on the reels that you make, and you're shooting from the heart, and that's what we need, and that's refreshing for people as well. Um,
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and I encourage more Catholics to do that because there's real issue. There's real issues inside the church, but also outside of the church. And Catholics that are self-developed, man, when I meet a cat, like before I was Catholic, when I met a Catholic guy who was on top of his game, very funny, joyful, like took life seriously, but not too seriously, was happy. It's like a slap in the face compared to the culture. Like you've never
oh
seen
yeah,
anything like that. At least I hadn't. And yeah, that's what converted me was meeting Catholics who are like that. So I just want
yeah,
more Catholics to be like that, more authentic, more joyful. And I think that's the best way to evangelize.
that's true. think when somebody is um, approachable, attractive, in the sense that not looking great, but they can also be looking great, but that you feel something. I want to be with this person.
Yeah.
I want to spend time with this person. Then you you're exuding something just that the first Christians did, because they were living in a way that people are saying, well, hey, why are they living like this? And why are they happy? And why are they, um, what's going on there? I want to know what's going on there. And
Yes.
because of that, they pulled people into the church, and the gospel went forth and took over the whole world.
Yeah.
It's not because they were kind of dull and
Right.
glum, and no, they were living a life that people wanted to live as well.
Yes. It's like sometimes they say at the end of Mass, go and preach the gospel by the way in which you live your life.
Yeah,
Yeah, I love that. And
yeah.
that's what works. So, okay, so just to recap, you said the biggest thing for young Catholic men, there's many, but one is to really know who you are and try to be authentic.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Would you say another thing I try to help with is dating, like good Catholic dating. Would you say there's a dating crisis in the church, or do you think numbers are just down in terms of the church overall?
Um, Rephrase that question.
Yeah, so I think a lot of guys struggle with dating inside of the Catholic Church,
Yeah.
and I don't know if that's because, like, I have my opinion, but do you think that's because people are struggling with how to date correctly, or do you think like the church is shrinking, there's just less numbers, it's hard to date?
Um, there are less numbers, but it depends where you are. So there are parishes that are blossoming, and the young families,
Yeah, sure.
and there's all ranges in the parish, and I think people just need to take the step.
Yeah,
That um, I know some places where I've been like, why isn't this guy dating yet? Because there are plenty of fish in the sea here.
yeah, yeah. Just take the step.
It's like you don't want to become a priest, you don't want to join a religious order. Well, your option next is to date someone and find someone to marry. Um, why aren't you trying? Why aren't you taking the step? So that I think numbers are down, yes, but also, um, are you looking, or are you active, or are you waiting for the fish to fall in your lap type
Right. And women don't tend to do that. They want to be caught. So,
thing?
yeah. So, it probably ties into that idea of them being scared. They're
Yeah,
scared to take off the mask. They're scared to ask out a girl. There's just a lot of fear right now. And
yeah.
I think that's expected in today's culture. The culture is so not Catholic, so secular.
I'm
Uh,
also scared to be hurt,
totally.
because you need to be vulnerable to be able to find someone. And then when you put yourself out there, you have to risk somebody saying no.
Right. Yeah, which is hard.
Yeah,
Um, yeah. Yeah, and I don't think people talk about that enough, where it's like you got to push. That's a big thing I'm trying to bring to our community is like you got to be kind of gritty in life as a man, like push through when it gets tough, just do it anyway. Get a little bit like like some fire in your belly
yeah,
because especially in today's culture, you got to stand up against a lot. I think
yeah.
there's a lot of temptation.
There is, there is.
Maybe even more so than the past. Like it might even be harder nowadays.
Well, it's we can all the time on our phones. It's the one big temptation there.
Yeah. I know I have a problem with it. I think everyone does. I run a business off of it. That doesn't help, but
Well, and like I've for myself, I put a 15-minute window on Instagram.
ooh, I like that.
So it tells me like screen time, it's done, and then I have to choose one more minute, or
Funny.
or
Yeah.
ignore the limit for the day, and then you have to have the grit to say, well, I'm going to just close it now.
Yeah. It sounds like a good idea. I bet it's tough in that moment.
It is tough in that moment because
Yep.
I've been watching this wonderful reel from Joe, and this is
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. Great reel.
Oh no, I can't watch the rest of it. And then
Yeah.
you have to say, what am I going to do? And I think that's being authentic is also being deliberate in life, is being deliberate, like knowing what I'm going to do, why I'm going to do this, and how.
Yeah. Wonderful. So, um, one of the things I brought into my community was I guess you could say like a chaplain, like a spiritual director type, and is a parish priest. But the men were asking for like spiritual guidance on masculinity,
Yeah.
spiritual. I guess so. What I asked them to do is do a talk on spiritual masculinity, and I think a lot of my guys are looking for that. I don't know if that phrase means anything to you, but is there anything that you could say to help young men, again, age like 20 to 30, some discerning on like how to be more spiritually masculine? Maybe that's in your prayer life or yeah, just anything like that. Because when I get asked, I'm not an expert in that. So I just say hit the gym.
Well, I'd say also hit the gym. That's that's
Yeah.
a build up a habit that is good. Being spiritually masculine would be to have a habit that you built in and stick to it. Um, it's being consistent, and being true to yourself and being true to what you believe in. It's that I think that's masculine in the sense like you're going for what you believe in and what you desire, um, and want to emulate Christ in that. So if you're following Christ and you have your habits lined up, stick to it.
Yeah.
And
Like there's a version of you that wanted to do those habits, and now there's a version of you that has to decide if you're going to stick to them. And
yeah,
like, yeah, you want to be aligned. You want to stick to what you're saying you're going to do.
I like you know those old cartoons with the angel and the
Yeah.
little.
Yeah.
So be careful. God is always speaking to us in our hearts. That's the little angel side. Um, he's always speaking to us, and in the instant that you're thinking about something that you want to do, that this guy wants you to do, you hear that voice, what you're supposed to do,
Yeah.
and listen to it.
Yeah. That's what it all comes down to. To
Yeah.
call your conscience.
And I think that is important for everyone, and is spiritually how you can become more a man in the sense that listen to your big brother, to Christ, to your Father, Heavenly Father, what they're placing in your heart.
Yeah. I think you touch on a really good point, which is like we can plan all this stuff, but at the end of the day, there's those little moments where you like know what you're supposed to do, and you
Yeah,
don't do it. And like you can lie and you can like put on a mask and stuff. At the end of the day, that's why an examen is so important because like you can't lie to yourself or to
yeah,
God. Like, or if you look in the mirror, like you can't lie. And that's like the biggest battles is all those little moments, I feel like, where it's like, did you look at the screen longer than you were supposed to? Did you go on this website? It's little things
yeah,
over and over and over.
and acknowledge it. Yes, I did. Be a man. Like I did do that, and I
Yeah,
shouldn't. Okay, now tomorrow I can try my best not to do it again.
totally.
And not like I'm going to try to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to stick to it.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
then see that we fail again. But still we get up and do it again.
Yes. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, we're leaders. I'll presumably have to lead a family. You have to lead, tons of people in congregations. So it's like you're hurting yourself. And if you're less of a man, not less of a man, less masculine, that affects the people you lead, I feel like.
Yeah. I think part of it as well is that's finding your vocation. Because we often see vocation as a thing to do,
Yeah.
but it's not a thing to do. It's a person you're supposed to be.
Ooh, I like that. Okay.
So who am I? Well, I'm Igor. I'm a Capuchin Friar. I'm a priest. You can all place that as jobs, but you can also place it as I'm called to be a priestly person, and that's a person who is a priest, who sanctifies, who brings Christ into the world. Okay,
Yeah.
that's my identity. I'm a Capuchin Friar. I'm here to be brother to all those around me. That's not a job. That's a way of being in life. I'm a husband and I'm a father. Well, I'm here to take care of my children, protect them, make sure they are uh, taken care of, shelter, food, nourishment, education, so that they can fulfill their vocation finally. So
Yeah.
it's who you are and not what you do.
I like that. I don't think a lot of men focus on that as much. I think we're very materialistic and we focus on what we're striving for rather than who we're striving for.
Yeah,
And I think that's the secret. If, because I know deep down, like that's all, like really, that's all that matters is like what type of man you are. How do you treat others? How do you treat yourself rather than, the fancy car?
yeah. When you're down and out, and if you're one of our clients or one of our guests, that that's who are you then? Well, I'm still someone who believes in Christ. I'm still someone who's taking care of the people around them, and so on. So your vocation of who you are doesn't change. It might vary a bit on the pathway, your job, but the deeper identity is the same.
Yeah, I like that. I think I try to teach that to guys. I try to get them, I have all my clients write a letter. And the letter, when they join, is the man you want to be. So you're like writing a letter of like, I am XYZ, like as in the present tense, like I am a man who is caring. He loves his woman for her sake. He doesn't objectify her. All these like character qualities written in the present tense to
Mhm.
kind of like trick the mind and be like, this is who man I want to be. And I tell them to read it every day.
That's good.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, well, there's one final topic I wanted to touch on, Father, and Brother Nathan and I have gone back and forth on this.
Okay.
And I wanted to ask you, so it's about the topic of money and like striving for wealth. And I thought you'd be an apt person to ask as someone who took the vow of poverty. So I'm I want to tell you kind of my thought on it. So, and then I want to hear your thoughts. So, um, I treat it pretty simply, which is like the more money I have, the more impact I can have. So if I have like $10,000, I might help a couple people. If I have $10 million, I can help like a whole city, whatever. I can do all kinds of stuff. So in my head, I'm like, well, I'll just strive to make as most amount of money as possible, and I can impact most amount of people. And so try to learn more, do more business stuff, make more money, and then just try to impact more people. Now, the most like the highest like esteemed people in the church took the vow of poverty and like the camel through the eye of a needle and like the church fathers obviously weren't
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
super into wealth. So I'm curious, like, do you think that's a distorted pursuit?
I think that wealth is money. Anything that we have is a tool, and like any tool, it's supposed to be used well. If you're not using your wealth well, then it's evil.
Yeah.
If you use your wealth well, then it's a good.
So it's not the money itself, it's how it's used.
That's how it's used. St. Francis told the brothers not to touch money because that's dirt, and that's worse than dirt. That's like manure type of thing,
Wow. Okay.
because it brings out the worst qualities in people.
Yeah.
Um, and so when I get something, and they say, "Oh, brother, this is for you." Okay, I can say objectively, "Oh, this is for me. I can use it to do something nice for me." Or I can remember my vow and like, okay, this belongs to the community, and so the guardian can take care of this and then do something good for everyone.
Yeah.
The person gave it and said, "This is for you."
Right.
I have to choose what to do with it. And
Yeah.
so
But it wouldn't be wrong for me to use it to like, okay, let's say, so for example, there's a fancy car I want. Like I've
yeah,
always thought it was cool. Is it wrong to like, let's say I end up becoming successful, is it wrong to buy that sports car?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
But if your conscience says it's wrong, then you shouldn't do it.
Yeah. Right. And then I
And
guess the deeper question is like, why do I want the car?
that's the question. And
Yeah.
so why do you want the car? Is it to show off? Then that's probably not as a good a motive.
Right.
But if it's, oh, I've got this money, this is good, I'm presenting myself, I can use this, and this is a good way for using it. If you are listening to your conscience and you have a well-formed conscience, you should always follow your conscience.
Sure. Totally. Yeah.
Trying
Yeah.
to skirt around the question,
Right.
but it comes down to how are you using your wealth. So if you a good quality car is good. I prefer a car that is higher up and more solid because I've had myself rear-ended in while
Yeah.
standing still, and so I know that if I'm in a solid, good car, I feel safer and I feel safer to drive.
Hmm.
Is it bad for me to buy a good car then? No.
Right. Right. So the question I have to discern is like, why do I want, like, is it truly because like I have a passion for vehicles and that's just like an interest of mine or and I just like am interested in that, or is it because I want to like flex on Instagram?
Yeah.
Right. I think I might know the answer. That's that's uh that's a good point. Just to ask like why you want the material things.
Yeah.
Because you're right, it's not inherently bad to have a nice house or a nice car, but like why? Yeah.
Like I have an iPhone. That's of the communications office. It's not mine per se, but I chose that model of iPhone because it had good quality cameras. Because I have to take photographs, and I found for myself if I buy like a high end camera and a phone, I I won't use the camera as much because I won't have it with me all the time. So
Right.
that's why I have an iPhone with a good camera on it, so that I can use that well.
Yeah.
That's my justification, but also I feel good with that because I'm using it for what it's meant for.
Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah, and I think it's easy to say, well, once I make all this money, I'll use it for good. I think that's
Yeah,
easy to say. Let's see like when people have the money, when the rubber hits the road, that's probably a very different conversation.
yeah.
Like with Instagram, it's easy to say, I'll only spend 15 minutes, but then when the 15-minute window comes up, it's like it's a
You
different
have to
conversation.
make the decision over and over again. Life is won in small steps.
Yeah, definitely. Awesome. Well, Father, that was the last question I wanted to touch base on. This is super valuable. Is there anything you would like to share with the viewers? I would say this is predominantly, like I said, like young men, about 80% men and 20 to 30 years old.
Yeah.
Is there any final points you want to make?
Pray, always pray, keep praying. If you don't want to pray, pray again. And tell Jesus what is going on in your life. That's the most important. Tell Christ what is going on in your life. And if you need something, really need something, tell him so that he knows.
Yeah.
And you'll
Wonderful.
be
Okay. Awesome. Well, Father, thank you so much. This is super helpful. I'm really glad we could connect and stay in touch. I definitely want to touch base soon.
Oh, definitely. And if I'm in the neighborhood, I'll try and jump in.
Yes, we're not that far. Milwaukee's not too far from Detroit.
That's true. That's true.
It's true. All right. Thank you so much, Father. Have a great day. God
Thank
bless.
you. God bless.